The state of California is being overrun by rats. That's right. The latest data shows a rodent explosion in the inner cities and even in suburban areas. Coming up, we'll tell you what's causing it and how a new law will make matters much worse. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and it's a real rat race out there in California, literally a rat race. California is seeing an alarming increase in rodent infestations. There's a number of factors that's fueling this, but the biggest factor, number one, homelessness and the trash that you're finding out there, easy access to food for the rodent population. But more importantly, there have been local restrictions imposed on pest control companies on what they're able to do to treat for rodent infestations. By limiting the technologies and the treatments that they're using, it makes it harder for pest control companies to do their job and solve the problem. But now a new law will make things much, much worse. A statewide law just signed into effect by Governor Gavin Newsom will further restrict the sort of treatments that pest control companies are able to use statewide. So as bad as the rodent explosion has been, and it's bad, it's about to get a whole lot worse. So let's walk through some of the issues. At Reform California, we actually have a history in blowing the whistle and sounding the alarm bell on this problem. From 2019, we released a report. Here is the story on our website, reformcalifornia.org. Go to reformcalifornia.org or just search on Google, Reform California rat infestation. July 16, 2019, we did release this report showing that there was a massive spike in rodent infestations that were traced to homeless camps in the urban areas. We've been tracking the data on rodent infestations, and the issues continue to get worse. Here is my discussion on Fox National with my good friend, Laura Ingraham.
California is becoming a socialist rat hole, literally. A new report by the group Reform California details how the once Golden State's rodent population is exploding, along with the number of homeless. But the report refutes claims that global warming is causing the spike in rodents, and it warns that rat packs risk spreading diseases straight out of the Dark Ages, like the plague. Joining me now is the man trying to solve this crisis, former San Diego councilman and Reform California chairman Carl DeMaio. Carl, is anyone still in elected office trying to help, or are you all alone? This is craziness.
You know, Laura, I never thought we would have to actually do a study of how many rats were there in California and whether the population was increasing and by how much was it increasing. And that's exactly the study we had to release today. A team of pest control specialists, vector control officials from local government, and 2 public health experts all came out, and it's a dire warning. There's been a doubling, at least a doubling in the rat population in California in key urban areas in the last 12 months, and that rate of increase is getting worse. And then on top of that, we see the outbreak of diseases that we haven't seen in generations. The plague has certainly been talked about amongst public health officials, but we now have a double count on the typhus cases in LA County. And 2 police officers recently were taken off of duty because they contracted typhus. So this is a public health emergency.
Yeah, so there you go. You can see the full interview on that website at reformcalifornia.org. So that was in 2019. And at the time, we were fighting a bill, and the bill number back then in 2019 was Assembly Bill 1788. It would ban a variety of treatments that pest control companies use effectively to control the rodent population. Well, I always warn you that bad bills can be stopped, and we did defeat the bill that year. Bad bills can be stopped, but if they come back, they could actually pass. And that's exactly what's happened. California enacts unprecedented restrictions on rat poisons in bid to protect wildlife. Oh, yes, the environment. No. What's going to happen is public health will be severely threatened by a major spike in the rodent population in California. And I'm telling you this right now. Oh, it's a pretty cat right there that the LA Times has. And let me just tell you, all of the bad policies always are justified by, but the children, but grandma, but the environment. It's wonderful for people to say that they care about those things. We all care about those things. But when you take a look at the packaging, what's inside the packaging, actually, you're going to find that all of those things, the environment, grandma, and kids, are always used to advance really bad ideas that end up hurting wildlife, grandma, and the kids. And I guarantee you that's what's going to happen here. You can sit there and say, oh, but we're protecting wildlife. And there is data to suggest that that wildlife has consumed some rat poison. We do not see a major shortage of wildlife in California. Okay, so if you're talking about end outcome, we want to make sure that we have biological diversity, that we don't have extinction of animals. No one can make the case that because we have rat treatment, rodent control, for public health, sanitary issues for, you and me, human beings, that somehow the wildlife is being completely decimated. There is no data to suggest that. There is data, one-off reports that say, oh, well, some of these animals that we have found dead have rat poisoning in them. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff inside of all of us, but at the end of the day, what actually killed them? And the ones that were alive, again, they're still alive. They may have some sort of carcinogen in their system, but at the end of the day, public health should always trump any other consideration. And my biggest concern is that an epidemic of rodent infestations, which is what we're going to see, because those inner cities had already enacted rodent pest control restrictions. That's why we saw the big spike. We absolutely are going to see a spike in the population of rodents in California, as well as the associated ill effects to public health and sanitation. So this new law has been signed into effect, and it basically bans the most effective practices for pest control companies in the state of California. What does it mean to you? Well, not only are you going to have a public health problem, but your cost of operating is going to go up. I can guarantee you that restaurants are going to have to double or triple their treatment because pest control companies are telling me that without access to the most effective technologies to get the job done, they're going to have to come out and treat repeatedly, which means more trips, which means more cost. And of course, those costs will be passed on to you. But Gavin Newsom doesn't care because he gets to say that he's for the wildlife. No, you're not. You're just virtue signaling, and you're screwing up our cost of living, and you're screwing up our public health and sanitation. Again, no one in the media wants to do a deep dive. They're just like, oh, let's save the critters from rat poisoning, without even justifying that there's actually a problem related to rat poisoning there. Again, this is a more important issue to deal with for public health, and we're going to see a major problem from the implementation of this law. At least on my part, we plan to continue to truth test and have oversight, shining a light on the ill effects of this law. We're probably going to be back with another report showing the spike in rodent populations now all across the state. It's not just going to be in those cities that implemented some of these restrictions locally. Now you're going to see a statewide restriction, which is going to hurt suburbia as well. Look, at Reform California, we bring you these stories and we fight bad laws like this one. We generate reports to do the job that the liberal media refuses to do. But we can't do that without your help. So please go onto the website, reformcalifornia.org, and chip in a contribution. We are entirely funded by grassroots supporters like you. Plus, we are in the middle of an election. Make sure you get a copy of our Reform California Plain English Voter Guide. The Plain English Voter Guide gives you easy to understand descriptions of all the statewide ballot measures, because there's a lot of lies and deceptive titles on the ballot put on by the politicians to fool you into voting against good things and voting for bad things. Plus, we found 470 tax hikes hidden on local ballots across the state of California. No doubt you're probably living in a locality that has a couple of those 470 tax hikes on your ballot hidden. We will make sure that you know where those tax hikes are hidden, and you can vote no against the higher costs. Finally, we do make endorsements in candidate races from the top of the ticket all the way down to school board and judge races. Check out the voter guides online at reformcalifornia.org. Click under voter help and then click under voter guides. Until next time, be careful of the rodents. I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.